Assalamu alaikum. Continuing on with introduction into the sciences of the Quran, and we reached the section whether a surah is what they refer to as Makki, which means some say it was revealed in Mecca, or Madani, which was revealed in Medina. Although, I say some say it was revealed in Mecca, because you have one side that says it isn't about whether it was revealed in Mecca or Medina. They say that they break it down and reveal before the migration from Mecca to Medina, and then after the migration to Medina. So they say one part of it is about the time, and then the other one say it was about the place. But there's really no difference, because before migration was still in Mecca. After migration was still in Medina. So just to touch on a little bit of it, we'll skim through it because everybody got a clear understanding about that, whether it was revealed in Mecca, whether it was revealed in Medina. But we will touch on some of the important parts, is like the themes of a Meccan surah, the themes of a Medina surah, and where you can see the differences, and it plays a key role, and it's important. And who came up with this term, a Makki surah, a Madani surah, and why did it come about? Did the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam do this? So we'll touch on some of those things. So the Quran was not revealed in a vacuum. In order to understand the message of the verses of the surah, it is important to understand the context, right? The context of the wording, what the Quran is telling you of the surah. You got to understand the context so that you can act upon it properly and put it in its proper place when you're trying to apply it, right? So what is meant by Makki and Madani? One of the most common ways to classify verses or chapters of the Quran is to classify them into Makki or Madani. This is why the word Makki or Madani is found written next to the title of the surah in most copies of the Quran, right? This classification is based on time, not place. There is a common misunderstanding that Makki means the surah was revealed in Mecca, and Madani means it was revealed in Medina. This is not the case. Meccan revelations is anything that was revealed before the migration of the Prophet in Mecca. So, we just kind of briefly touched this. From Mecca to Medina, whereas Medina revelations is anything that was revealed after migration in Medina. It is a classification based on the time of revelation with migration, serving as the determining factor. The Prophet alayhi salam himself did not classify revelation as Makki or Madani, but it was something that the companions did. May Allah be pleased with all of them. They regarded it as important. They realized that preserving this information was necessary in order for future generations to properly understand the verses. Man, that insight, thinking of the future of the Muslims, man, the way the companions did that. To break the Quran down and to put it that way, to make it easy for the future generations of the Muslims to properly understand the verses and stuff, because we wasn't there when these ayats was brought down. The conditions that the Prophet alayhi salam and his companions, may Allah be pleased with all of them, lived in Mecca was different than the conditions that they lived in when they went to Medina. They was oppressed in Mecca. So that's them seeing that wisdom, man, that far-sightedness. And as you learn, you will see the benefits of why it's separated in Meccan and Medina type surahs. And as you get into tafsirs and different things like this and hadiths, and it also play a major role in verses that has been abrogated as well, which we'll get into abrogations in another chapter right after this one. We in 6, there's chapter 7, which is brief, and then 8 where we'll get into the abrogation, because some verses of the Quran have been abrogated, but they wasn't removed from the Quran. One thing that you also have to understand is those verses that was abrogated in the Quran that had hadiths that came with them, those hadiths was abrogated as well. Not saying that those hadiths can't still be applied, or even those ayats in the Quran can't still be applied, but they was replaced by something better. So when you go in to look for a ruling, or you trying to apply something to particular circumstances, and you trying to use Quran and Sunnah, you have to go with what was new. The verses that was abrogated, what was that ruling replaced with? You have to go look towards that first, and you have to know those things before you get to try to apply and implement things, or get to arguing with people that possibly don't call themselves the same type of Muslim that you are, and trying to impose your thought on them, and you might be incorrect in your way of thinking. Like, we'll say if you're a Shiite and you want to impose some type of ruling, or say this had to be done on somebody that you consider to be a Sunni, and then you want to try to use, okay, well, this hadith, these Quran ayats, those things might be abrogated. You know what I'm saying? You know, no, not to disrespect what anybody called himself, because I'm not trying to be offensive. I just want to give the example. Just like vice versa. A Sunni with somebody who may be a Shiite, and these may be people who really haven't been to school, who not educated, and they just your regular, as they say, 9 to 5 Muslims. They just your regular average Muslim, and they just arguing back and forth on Facebook, Instagram, or at the local masjid. And in reality, they both possibly need to be quiet. But this is the important, that farsightedness, to have these things and understanding this was amazing, man. The wisdom that the companions had. So Ibn Maksud, may Allah be pleased with him, said, I swear by Allah, besides whom there is no God, there is no surah in the Quran except that I know where it was revealed. That's powerful. And then Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, also said, by Allah, I know about every verse. One says surah, right? Ibn Maksud says surah. Ali took it even further and said every verse. That's like subhanallah. So Ali said, by Allah, I know about every verse, whether it was revealed at night or during the day, in the plains, like the flatlands, or in the mountains. That's ilm, right? So how is it known if a verse or a surah is Makki or Madani? There are two primary ways in which the scholars of the Quran determine if a verse or a surah is Makki or Madani, right? Now it's saying the scholars of Quran. sometimes this is something that people have to understand. Sometimes the scholars of fiqh and then the scholars of the Quran and then the scholars of hadith and then the scholars of usul may have different opinions, right? So this is the method that the scholars of the Quran, they have two primary ways, right? So they have two ways to determine if a verse of or surah is Makki or Madani. The first is through narrations from the companions, meaning a companion will mention the time and place of a specific verse or surah. Sometimes they may mention some other information that indicates it was revealed before or after the migration. So this is key, because just to give a little detail, which I guess I left off. In the beginning, they wasn't saying Makki or Madani. They were saying this is before the migration and this was after. But technically that is in Mecca and Medina. So originally, some of the early ulama determined it this way. This was before migration, this was after. Right? So it says that it was revealed before or after migration. It is important to know that it is not a narration for every single verse of the Quran that describes if it is Makki or Madani. The second is through educated reasoning based off external factors based on the subject matter, right? The subject matter, the style, or the theme of the verse of the surah. A scholar will conclude if it is Makki or Madani. For example, verses that are addressing the polytheists, right? People with multiple belief systems or turning one God into three, like Jesus, Son, the Holy Ghost. They polytheists instead of monotheists, right? So verses that address the polytheists were revealed before the migration in Mecca, right? Especially when it's addressing the polytheists of Mecca. Those verses are most likely Makki. Verses that talk about the Battle of Badr or hypocrites are most likely Madani. Since this second method is based off of the educated reasoning of a scholar, difference of opinions do arise. Some scholars of hadith may see it different. Some scholars of fiqh may see certain things different based off of the evidences and the proofs that they came across, or the opinion of another scholar or earlier scholar that they choose to roll with. So sometimes differences of opinions do arise, but these are opinions that can be different. So that's why you see also not only the subject matter but the style. And just like I was saying in a previous lesson, some of the style, you'll notice that some of the earlier surahs, they rhymed. Not just Al-Fatiha, but you look at a lot of them and they actually rhyme if you pay close attention. And when you look at the beauty of that, when you reciting some Al-Fatiha, you pay close attention. And you notice that it rhymes, but it has so much haqq in it. So much detail, so much tawheed, so much asima wa sifat, names and attributes of Allah Azza wa Jal in there. Speaking about the people of the books that came before, as in the aspect of the ones who earned the anger but it's rhyming, and it's just full of thick and substance, like the eloquence, the balaga, like that. When you really sit down and ponder on that, and not just Al-Fatiha, but these surahs, and realize they rhyming, and it's so full of haqq. Like, man, Allah Azza wa Jal is, man, alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. So, themes, Makkan and Madani revelation. The circumstances, conditions, issues, difficulties, and need of the Prophet alayhi salam and the Muslims in Mecca were very different than those in Medina. Revelation from Allah Ta'ala took these differences into account. That is why the subject matter, the themes, and style of a Meccan revelation are different than those of a Madani revelation. Clear differences, right? All Meccan revelations share some common themes. It is important to know that these are generalities and not absolutes. There may be some verses that do not talk about these themes, but are still Makki. There may also be some verses that do talk about these themes, but are Madani. So, one, the theme of a Makki revelations are the three fundamental aspects of Islam, Islamic beliefs: Tawheed, the oneness of Allah Ta'ala, prophethood, and the life and life after death, the barzakh, the day, all of that. The establishment of these beliefs is the most common theme of Meccan's revelations. It talks about the oneness of Allah, His names and attributes, Asma wa Sifat, His omnipotence, and ultimate power. It mentions the stories of the prophets and messengers and the difficulties they face in inviting others towards faith. It proves the reality and certainty of resurrection, life after death, rewards, punishments. It rejects the false beliefs of those who associated partners with Allah. So that's one. Two, morality in general. The Meccan verses discuss what is considered to be good, upright moral behavior in a person's speech and actions, and rejects immoral practices prevalent in pre-Islamic society. Allahu Akbar. 3. Stories of past prophets, messengers, may Allah be pleased with them all, and nations. The main purpose of these stories is for the reader to derive moral lessons and reminders. Subhanallah. So now the theme of the Madani revelations are: 1. Ritual acts of worship, such as prayer, fasting, Hajj, Zakat, right? Because when you look at the timeline, some of these things didn't even come. Your fasting, your Hajj, Zakat, these things didn't come into play as being on a mandatory aspect until after the Hijrah or after the migration. Salat came in about a good year and a half, maybe year and a half-ish before, but your different type of, well, I won't get ahead of myself. So this is why you'll start to see a lot of this more in the Madanis, right? So ritual acts of worship, such as prayer, fasting, Hajj, charity. The verses discuss the general obligations, and the details are found in the Sunnah of the Prophet alayhi salam, hadiths. 2. Rulings and regulations related to personal, social, economic and economic life. For example, marriage and divorce, war, the permissibility of sales, the prohibition of interest, riba, right? The laws concerning punishments, and the rules of inheritance. This is no way meant to be an exhaustive list, but it gives a general idea. So there's more in there. So this is a general idea. And then 3, discussions with, not about, discussions with the Jews, Christians, and the hypocrites regarding their beliefs and how to interact with them. That is key. Not only discussing with them about their beliefs, but how to interact with them. One of the key things that we need to figure out and deal with is it includes the hypocrites. Right? So it teaches you how to deal with the munafiqun. Quran al-Kareem teach us how to deal with a hypocrite. Now, we can't just sit down and call a person a hypocrite. Be like, yeah, you a hypocrite. Because, like the hadith say, because I see you doing something that I don't like. But we have hadiths that also says, and this is for us to look inside ourselves first. If a person have these 1, 2, 3, or somehow these 1, 2, 3, 4 characteristics, if they have these characteristics, then you have some hypocrisy in you, right? And if you have all 4 of them, you have the characteristics of a hypocrite. So if you see some people doing things from this list, or you yourself doing things into this list, you need to get it together. Or when you have to deal with them, the Quran teaches you how to deal and interact with them, just like it says, right? So then these verses discuss the false beliefs that crept into Judaism, which is what the Jews believe, and Christianity, and invites them back to Islam. Alhamdulillah. So these are some of the things that you can get from reading the Madani verses or Madani surahs. You got to know what to look for, right? So then characteristics of Makki and Madani revelations. Wahi. Makki and Madani revelations also have very distinct characteristics in terms of language, sound, and style. After analyzing both types of verses and surahs, scholars developed lists detailing these differences in characteristics. Right? So the characteristics of the Makki surahs are usage of the word no or never, right? So beginning with broken letters, except the Surah Al-Baqarah and Surah Al-Imran. So then also, so that's 2, right? 3, the presence of a verse of prostration. 4, mention of the story of Adam and Satan, except for Surah Al-Baqarah. 5, brevity and rhythm, right? Makkan verses are generally short and can have a rhyming sound. So y'all know, like I do, and this is just a piece of advice to help people when they're studying, to look up certain words that you don't commonly use, to see what they translated it to, so it can give you a better understanding of what they want you to get, as opposed to you using the word how you think it means. So let's take a look. Let's look up the word brevity, right? 1 a second here. So it says brevity, concise, and exact use of words in writing or speech. So it's letting you know that these Meccan surahs was very concise and exact, and they had a rhythm, right? They had a rhythm, a kind of a flow with them, and are generally shorter and can have a rhyming sound. So once you go look at some of those earlier surahs, you can start with Al-Fatiha and just say it line for line and pay close attention to it, and the whole surah rhymes. So this is one of the keys of the surahs that was revealed in Mecca or before the migration, right? And also, so number 6 is they use oaths. So one, the way that they use the word no and never, right? 2, beginning with broken letters, except for Surah Al-Baqarah and Surah Al-Imran, right? 3, the presence of a verse of prostration. 4, mentioning the story of Adam and Satan, except for Surah Al-Baqarah. 5, brevity, which they want you to understand that they mean concise and exact, right? It said what it meant, and it meant what it said. Okay? It said what it meant, and it meant what it said, and it had a flow to it, a rhythm. They was generally shorter, and they had a rhyming sound. And then 6, the use of oaths. There was a lot of oath in it, right? So then the characteristics of the Madani verses are the mention of specific punishments for certain crimes, the mention of hypocrites, Jews and Christians, and then the length. Madani verses are generally longer. So these are some of the things you can look for when it goes to breaking them down, right? So how verses and surahs are classified as Makki or Madani. The Quran was revealed gradually over a period of time. Other times surahs were not revealed in their entirety. Sometimes a few verses would be revealed, while other times a single verse or even a portion of the verse would be revealed. There are surahs that was revealed entirely before the migration, and some after, and some in both. There are surahs in which the majority of the verses are Makki, but a few are Madani, and others that are Madani with a few Makki. So when you go to look through things like Mudathir is an example of one, right? Mudathir started off, this is one narration or one opinion or one of the things that you will find when you're looking at it. Surah Mudathir started off in Mecca, but it was completed in Medina. So this is what they're referring to. Some of the surahs started off in Mecca, and then it was completed in Medina. So based off of the theme of the majority of what was discussed in that, how it's breaking down the topic, the rhymes, this and that, sometimes it distinguished how it got classified. Was more of it revealed in Medina than in Mecca? Then it may got classified as Madani. Was the majority of it revealed in Mecca and just a little bit in Medina? Just to give a little bit of details, right? So then it says that when it comes to labeling a surah, Mecca or Madani, scholars consider the majority of the verses. Due to this, the scholars of Ulum al-Quran developed the following classifications. 1. Makki surahs, the majority of the verse was revealed in Mecca. Just like what we was just discussing, right? There might be some verses that are Madani. So if the majority of it was revealed in Mecca and a little bit in Medina, they consider that to still be a Meccan surah, right? Madani surahs, so that was one. Number two, Madani surahs, the majority of the verses was revealed after the migration in Medina. There might be some verses that are Makki. So whichever one had the majority of the ayahs revealed, wherever it was, that's what it got classified as. Now, three, a difference of opinion exists regarding whether the surah is Makki or Madani. Because again, this is why I specifically say the scholars of Ulum al-Quran. You may have some scholars of fiqh who have a different opinion on how the surah should be classified based off of whatever they laid out. You may have some scholars of hadith that may have a different opinion. You see what I'm saying? But they making it clear that, and even with some scholars of the Quran, some may say, hey, it started off in Medina. I don't care if it finished in Medina. I don't care if it started off in Mecca and finished in Medina, but the majority of it was in Medina, but it started in Mecca. So to me, it's a Mecca surah. So they have difference of opinion. These type of opinions can be different because it doesn't change the context of Quran al-Kareem, but it do give you some detail when you want to look into it, and you could break down, and also when things is abrogated, it make it easier for you to study and to abstract rulings from and be able to keep it in the context in which it was revealed, so that you can be more thorough in your observation when it comes to trying to live Quran al-Kareem out. So it has its benefit. You understand? So the importance, the knowledge of whether a surah is Makki or Madani is important in several ways. For example, context is extremely important for developing a proper understanding of a person's words and statements. Taking the verses of the Quran out of proper context can lead to a lot of misunderstanding, even for Muslims. Having knowledge of whether a verse or surah is Makki or Madani provides that context. It gives a framework on how to approach and understand the subject matter and theme of the surah. In addition to providing context, this knowledge assists in understanding the concept of abrogations, right? Discussed it, and then it got a little sidebar. This will be discussed in chapter 8. It also gives insight into the life of the Prophet alayhi salam, his companions, may Allah be pleased with them all, and the issues and problems they came across in the various stages of the surah. So that ends that. And then you have your next section, which is the cause of the revelation. What was the situation that had the surah or the ayat? What was going on where the surah or the ayat was revealed? And you can see when you read in the Quran where it says to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they will ask you about this, and this. And then it says, say, and then it tells Rasul what to say when they come ask him about it. Beautiful. So like a lot of people don't realize, or they don't know this, but like when you in your Quran, Arabic or English, when it says say, Allah is telling him what to say to the people. This is the situation. Even about the woman who came and complained to the Rasul, and Aisha was there because it's a hadith about it, and it's in the Quran though. But because when the ayah was revealed, Aisha, kind of in the hadith or the Athar, where she's saying the woman, like I could barely hear the woman speak, like, and Allah heard everything. So, Allah says, I heard the woman come to you, in the Quran, and then it advised the Rasul on what to say, what to do. So, those things to know that when it's in Quran al-Kareem, when it starts off, say, that's Allah telling the Rasul what to say to the people. When you look at some of your surahs, the whole entire surah is a dua, like Surah Al-Falaq. And it starts off, say this, and then it's a whole dua. And this dua is protection from this and this. Those things, they're important to know. It helps you put them in a context, and not only put them in a proper context, but how to act them out and live them accordingly. Like you got whole surahs, and the whole entire surah is a dua to protect you from some things. You have people, and I'm not knocking this by saying this, but you have some individuals that will walk around with like the Fortress of the Muslim, or they might go to hadiths and find prophetic duas. Alhamdulillah, you should use them. But then, right there in Quran al-Kareem, this whole entire surah is a dua for protection from the majority of those things where you done went in, got 10 different duas broken down where you could have just said this one particular surah. Whole surah. It's a dua. So, so we'll get into this with the next discussion, and then kind of, just touch through and skip through it, because I want to get into the abrogations, the 8th chapter, and then alhamdulillah, man, bifni Allah Ta'ala, we able to get to it and benefit from it, and going over this again. I think I originally took the class on this, right? Subhanallah Adim. I took the class on this in like 2016, 2015, 2016. We basically on the tail end of 2023. So other than touch-ups and different courses that go through things and where you have to speak on certain things like this, I haven't went through this book in detail. So this is also a reminder to me, and the beauty of it for me is as I'm going through it, I still have so much retained because I start talking about it before I get to it. So it's letting me know how much I retain, because a lot of times you don't sit down and just have conversations with people about, like, I'm sitting down kicking with the brothers, man, you know what I'm saying, and we was talking about how the Quran was revealed. Occasionally I hear people just say certain things, like, and this true stories, I done heard people in the masjid or brothers come talking about their wife said it's not permissible to read the Quran from the beginning to the end, starting from Al-Fatiha to Nas, because it wasn't revealed that way. You have to read it in the way that it was revealed. And they telling me this. They talking to me. So I just said, okay, so how was it revealed? Oh, well, we just skip around. You need to know you need to know the importance of why it was put in the order that it was in, because you might read ayat number 50 in Surah Al-Baqarah. You might read ayat 50 to like ayat 55. But the rulings and the fiqh that comes with ayat 50 to 55, it doesn't hit until ayat 60. Like, one of the things that you will see in the Quran, right? When you look at, like, the beginning of Baqarah, it says certain things like, this Quran is a book, and then it'll say it's for this person, this type of person, this type of person, basically on the believing side. Then after it gives that in detail, then it'll tell you the people that's on the Fasiq side, they're not going to get anything from it. Let me pause this for a second and grab a Quran and just show a little bit before I close out. I want to give an example. I like to do a visual. Instead of talking and leaving a cliffhanger, let me just show it a little bit. Okay, so what I'm going to use is this clear Quran. This is a big one. And this is one I like to study from. I want to show y'all some things about this clear Quran. The way it make it real thematic. For those who haven't looked at it. I got one in with the Arabic. It ain't just the English. So like right here, you see terminology. Like right there it says, the lighting is a little bad. But right here, above each paragraph, it gives you the theme. So this one is called, this top paragraph, qualities of the believers. Then when you come to this next one, quality of the disbelievers, right? Then quality of the hypocrites. So when you know, but without them breaking it down for you, and the scholars doing this, right? What they did was basically with the clear Quran, and of course a particular group of individual Muslims in America, they try to warn against this book because there's some things in it that they don't understand. But anyway, what was done was, because the Noble Quran has so much parentheses, it was making it difficult for some people to read. So they came up with this one to kind of take away all the parentheses that was within the book. Right? So, right here, qualities of the believers, qualities of the disbelievers, and then qualities of the hypocrites. But if they don't put that theme in there for you, some people will miss that. And then right up here is a little bit of history. They do it with every surah, letting you know that it was a Madani surah, kind of give you some of the theme, sometimes possibly why it was revealed. Very beautiful, very beautiful. So just to give you an example, and this is to show the danger in trying to skip around or it wasn't revealed that way. It was placed in an order for a specific reason. The angel Jibreel came down with the Rasul during Ramadan every year, went over the Quran with him twice in 1 year. Everything where it was placed, all this is how it's supposed to be. So to give you an example of what I was saying, how sometimes the fiqh might be a couple ayats down. You might miss those ayats doing this skipping around stuff, right? So one, right? Okay, so one, qualities of the believers. Ayat 1, Alif Lam Mim, right? 2, this is a book. There is no doubt in it. There is no doubt about this book. Do not doubt the words that is being spoken to you in this book. Don't have any type of doubt in it, right? So don't doubt the fact it is a guide. Don't doubt that this book is a guide for those mindful of Allah, those with taqwa, those with that consciousness. Now keep in mind those key words. It's a guide for those who are mindful, who have taqwa of Allah. That's 1. 3, who believe in the unseen, right? Establish salah, right? And donate. So believe in us unseen, establish salah, and pay zakat from that what we have provided for them. This book is a guide for those who have taqwa, who believe in the unseen, who establish salah, and who pay zakat and donate sadaqah from what we have provided from them. Starting off with 4 things. So if you take yourself out of these specific qualities, you might not get the guidance that you're looking for. This book, don't doubt it. Don't doubt or question what's being said, is a guide for those who are mindful, who have taqwa, those who believe in the unseen, those who establish the salah, and those who donate and pay zakat and give sadaqah from what we have provided for them. Right? Then it continues on. And who believe in what has been revealed to you, O Prophet, alayhi salam. So this is what's being taught to you from the Sunnah, which is in Hadiths. You have to accept that as well, right? So, O you who believe, right, and who believe in what has been revealed to you, O Prophet, and what was revealed before you, right? And have sure faith in the hereafter. In the hereafter, right? It is they who are truly guided by their Lord, and it is they who will be successful. So what is our categories? This book is a guide. Those who have taqwa, those who believe in the unseen, those who establish salah, those who donate, pay zakat and give sadaqah, right? Who believe in what has been revealed to the Rasulullah, Quran al-Kareem, along with the hikmah, as you see in the Quran, the other hikmah and the wisdoms that came, that's in hadiths, right? And who believe in the books that was revealed before him, not this tainted stuff that these people done came up with, but what was revealed to the prophets before him, right? Even like the story such as with like Dhul Kifl. Without Quran and Kareem, we probably wouldn't have had a story like with Dhul Kifl. And so you got to believe in that too, right? But that goes along with what was revealed to the Rasul. I just wanted to give an example of something that came before him, right? And have faith in the hereafter, right? It is they who are truly guided by their Lord, and it is they who will be successful. That's the key right there. That's the key right there. Now, then it goes on to say, now as for those who persist in disbelief, those who continue to act up on kufr, those who continue to not accept Islam, because keep in mind, you got disbelievers and you got munafiqs. This is referring to as well. So as for those who persist in disbelief, keep in mind, this is about this book, right? It's the same whether you warn them or not. They will never believe. Allah has sealed their hearts and their hearing and their sight is covered. Now, one thing that you should get from that, and then it says, and they will suffer a tremendous punishment. But listen to this. Allah sealing your heart, Allah sealing your hearing and your sight on both ways. Whether you blind and you can't see anymore, whether you deaf and you can't hear anymore, or where your heart is just so hard you can't even be a good person anymore. Where no Islam, no good can even seep into it. Those things is a punishment from Allah. Now, when you see, but you don't have no insight, you can't even see the truth that's in this deen. You can't even hear the truth when it's being spoken to you from this deen. Those is punishments from Allah. So it's letting you know the successful, those who are going to get the guidance from Allah, fall in this category. And then it comes right on to continue. As for the ones who on the opposite side of that, those opposing this here, this is what they headed to, right? Then, now that was the qualities of the disbelievers. Now it comes into the qualities of the hypocrites. And then it says, and there are some who say, we believe in Allah in the last day. Yet they don't really believe. Yet they are not believers. They seek to deceive Allah and the believers. So not only is they trying to fool Allah Azza wa Jal, which is your brain has been distorted to the point where you foolish enough to think you're going to fool Allah. That's a punishment from Allah in itself, that you running around thinking you're going to be able to fool Allah. They want to fool Allah and they want to fool the believers. Yet they only deceive themselves. But they fail to perceive it. They can't even accept it. They can't even bring that into the proper perspective to grasp the concept that they only fooling themselves. You're not going to fool Allah. You're not going to fool the believers. Now you might fool some of the people some of the time, but some of those people that you fooling might fall into some of the same categories that you fall in. Right? Then it says, there's a sickness in their heart, and Allah only lets that sickness increase. Their hearts get sicker. They will suffer a painful punishment for their lies. When they are told, do not spread corruption in the land, they reply, we are only the peacemakers. We not corrupting anything. We the ones bringing the peace. You might think the way that you're trying to tell people to bring Islam with this ratchet, rude, unruly, rule with an iron fist behavior is what's going to fix Islam. But in fact, that behavior might cause a whole lot of division. And it might cause a whole lot of people to leave Islam, although they still call themselves Muslims. Allah's giving it to us right here. He gave it to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to give it to us. It says we are only peacemakers. Indeed, it is they who are the corrupters. But they fail to perceive it. They can't even put it in perspective to a point to receive the information that they corrupting the people. Can't even grasp the concept. Some of them even try to fight you, possibly even kill you, if you point out the fact to them that they corrupting the people with Daniel. But they can't even perceive it. And when they are told, believe as others believe, they reply, will we believe as the fools believe? But indeed it is they who are the fools, but they don't even know it. But when they meet the believers, they say, we believe. But when alone with their evil associates, their companions, keep in mind, this isn't talking about the kuffar. This is the qualities of the hypocrite. So when they with their group of Muslims that they associate with, they say, we are definitely with you. We was only mocking them. We were just fooling them. Allah will throw their mockery back at them, leaving them to continue wandering blindly in their defiance. Defiance sometimes leads to deficiency. They are the ones who trade guidance for misguidance. You gonna choose misguidance over guidance? But they don't know it. They don't know this is the choice they making, because that's how far gone they is. This is a punishment within themselves, and Allah gonna leave them up on that. But this trade is profitless, and they are not rightly guided. So I just wanted to get at, because some people don't understand the rest of what you need to get. You might skip it over because you think you reading the Quran in a way, because you skipping around talking about this is how it was revealed, and you missing what you supposed to get. The Quran is in an order for a specific reason. And look at all that beauty. And then it goes on to give the example of the hypocrite, where it say that their example is that of someone who kindles a fire. I'm in the darkness. I'm finna light a fire so that I can see. But when it lights up all around them, I'm in the darkness. Let me start a fire so I can see. Give me a little campfire burning. Alhamdulillah, now I can see all around me. And then Allah takes the light away, leaving them in complete darkness, unable to see. Every time they get a bright idea and think they got some clear vision, Allah take it right back away from them and leave them in clear darkness, clear, complete darkness, leaving them unable to see. And this is in this life. It don't necessarily mean like you can be in darkness even in a room full of light. You got to be able to abstract that, right? They are willfully, they're choosing. They putting forth the effort. They are willfully choosing, putting forth effort to be deaf, dumb, and blind. So they will never return to the right path. And we're going to end it on that one, man. So that I just wanted to, because we talking about the sciences of the Quran. And you need to learn, you need to see that there's a lot of ayats like this that start off these, like where some of them, and maybe one time we have some time and just bust them down. These, they're going to be in a gardens with underneath rivers flow. And then these are headed to an evil destination, to the point where molten lava is going to be poured over the top of their heads down to where they face and body start to melt. Let's start there. It's going to get some molten lava poured over the top of their head. The ones who do this and this and this and this, they're going to be in paradise where rivers flow. And then the next following verses, but the ones who do this, and this, they're going to receive a tremendous, evil punishment. Punishment from which they can't even perceive. You got to learn your book, man. You got to learn your book. It's a guide. This book is a guide. As long as you have taqwa. As long as you believe in the unseen. But you got to keep in mind, you got to have the proper beliefs. Not just believing that the unseen exists. Like, for instance, having some type of belief like the angels is butt-naked babies with bows and arrows like Cupid. Right? Or Shaitan is an angel that fell. These kufr ideas that you bring to Islam with you. No, you can't be believing that stuff. And then establish the salat. Not pray sometimes. Not, I ain't prayed all week, but I prayed Jumu'ah in the masjid with the brothers. nor establish the salah. And you got to donate and pay zakat. You got to donate and pay zakat. Those is who going to be successful, and then the list gets longer. You have individuals who may feel like they do these things, but then they turn around and say that that hadiths is superstition. We don't need to read no books of hadiths. We don't need that. All I need is Quran. You done took yourself right off the beginning of what your Quran tells you after Al-Fatiha. This is within the first 5 verses. And you done took yourself off of it. You know what I'm saying? Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Any mistakes I made was from myself and the shaitan. Sometimes I have slips of the tongue. Sometimes I mispronounce words. But those just common mistakes. So any mistakes I made came from myself and the shaitan. Anything that I said that was right and correct came from Allah Azza wa Jal. And may Allah rectify all of our affairs and allow us all to be benefits to each other, our families, and to whatever type of communities that we live in. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I do say right here, but somebody be done hit me up like, man, you made a dua, I ain't say because I ain't, but Assalamu alaikum.